Hello and welcome to our business conversations targeted directly for entrepreneurs who care about doing their business in a different way. That's why we call this Building Depth in Business. And if you're just tuning in, welcome. You're going to hear some things that are perhaps less conventional than you get in typical business programming, but that's because they work. They're what we've done internally, and they produce the results that have brought us to this point 15 years in, and happy to share them with you free of charge because you're worth it. And saying that, we're coming off a series of discussions regarding quoting, estimating, risk structures. These are kind of some of the things that we were talking about previously. And I want to talk today about downtime. This is what this is about, the expense of downtime. I mentioned it previously that my priority is time, not money. When I'm in business, time is money, and I felt like, years ago I realized if I prioritize time, I get money too. There's only so much time in the day. Money comes and goes all the time, and I could see bank accounts doing this, but time just always seemed to slip on by. And anyways, the philosophy really differentiates our approach. It's one that I'm going to recommend you adopt because when you emphasize time, a whole bunch of opportunities to innovate come in. If you emphasize budget, it tends to only constrict, and there's a way. People that focus on money, businesses that prioritize budgets, forecasting and constriction in that way, there tends to be a concrete, lineal thinking approach, and the psychology of that tends to really confine an organization. It's not to say a free-for-all on money. That's not also what I'm saying. I'm saying be prudent, plan accordingly for what the project truly costs. I've walked very clearly through how to do that in your organization in previous conversations, so you can do that. But once you've planned, then move forward. Move forward in light of the fact that you only have so much time left in your life. The good news is both you and I, we're probably going to die, and there'll be money in our bank account when we go. So you'll run out of time before you run out of money. So we focus on time. And I also said in a little line, the most expensive thing in every business is downtime. And so I want to unpackage that for you, for us, because oftentimes my experience is working with other trades, just observing their business, working with, particularly in the software and IT space, people just accept downtime. It's kind of like part of the routine. It's just the way we do things, and that's such a pure waste in my mind. So when I consider downtime, what I'm thinking about as far as a business, you need to get paid. Well, you get paid for progress. You get paid for results. It's part of why I emphasize contracting, because it accentuates the reward for doing business well. You innovate, you get more money. And what I mean by that is, again, I use this hypothetical. You got a $10,000 project, and if you do it in 2 weeks, you made $5,000 a week. If you do it in 1 week, you made $10,000 a week. Well, innovate, get down to 1 week, double your profitability, compress your time. And then what that also does is now you have an extra week free to do another $10,000 project that other people would do in 2 weeks. You've done it in 1 week. So you've done a month's worth of work in 2 weeks, but got paid for a month's worth of projects. Well, that's a great way to double your profitability without charging anymore. Just saying, it's what worked for us. But accepting downtime is just pure laziness in my mind. And we don't have to do that. We can anticipate what it is. If you're in construction, weather will happen to be a downtime, and planning ahead for that is just something that we can do because we have weather apps. And it's a challenge that I think in trades we face a weather complexity that other people in offices don't. And I say weather complexity because we don't have to battle Mother Nature. By golly, we're a part of it. Guess what? Snow's coming if you live in Canada this winter. It's going to happen. It's not out to get you. It's part of what makes this a beautiful, vibrant, four-season country. Not to say the States doesn't get snow, because there's some windy, snowy places in the Midwest. I've been there, done that. Beautiful. And some awesome skiing too. So anticipating weather is a great thing to do so that you're not stuck. And some simple innovations. I remember one particular project, we're working up to Christmas, and I want it to be done early because that's what I want to do. That's my motivation as a business owner. So I told everybody, hey, listen, we know we're trending towards cold weather. Let's not get trapped here. If we get done early, everybody gets a bonus. I'm not going to take advantage of you. We're coming into Christmas here. But I also bought everybody those Milwaukee heated jackets, vests, whatever they wanted. And that was so selfish of me. And I mean it, so selfish of me, because, and I also, because everybody that's warm is more productive. That's period. I knew that if my team was warm and they had nice new vest, sweater, jacket, whatever one they wanted, they would perform consistently through the day with their like unit of productivity through the day. Versus getting cold and getting tired and getting fatigued, still the calories they burn and the cold fingers and the fumbling, what about the mistakes, and oh my goodness, I dropped my hammer and now it's through the window and whatever. All the drama that comes with getting cold, we can just offset that. Did it cost me like $700 in Milwaukee or $800 in Milwaukee equipment? Absolutely did. Did I earn an extra $15,000 on being ahead of schedule? Yes, absolutely I did. Just because we finished early. It's just how that went. So worthwhile. Weather doesn't have to stop you. Obviously prioritizing your sequencing, and sometimes we'll do things out of a normal project timeline sequence in anticipation of weather, so all the outside stuff gets done before the inside stuff, and I leave that to you to discern. But I've often thought that, hey, I can definitely consult in a tech company about project management because, you know, the wind never blows all your materials off the job site if you're inside an office building, and the snow never covers everything so you can't see it and have to shovel it all out, all those sorts of pieces as well. But downtime also comes from subcontractors and suppliers. And this is a big deal, you know, because your subcontractors, if they don't manage their schedule, you're stuck with them. And this happens in a digital space too. It's like, when's the graphics guy going to get things done, or when's the audio guy going to get things done? So I often work, when I do my estimating, if that's on here, yes, my estimating, and I have my materials, labor, equipment subcontractor, the first people I call are my subcontractors, because I want to give them the most time. If I need an electrician on a project, hey, Mrs. Electrician, can you come give me a quote on this particular thing? I'll send you some high-def videos, high-def photos so you can see the project, so you may not even need to attend. I just need a price. They know I'm going to treat them fairly, so they don't need to like nickel and dime over the thing. They just need to know that this is the price to do the work anyways. We streamline that process and get the ball rolling before I go count my lumber and quantify that, because I can do that on my time. If I have some suppliers or subcontractors that I know are slow or late or delayed, I sometimes, well, you have to deal with that in some degree, but you're not vulnerable to it if you plan for their delay. And one of the things that I've done as a result of that is scheduled in a buffer. Subcontractors, the ones that are the slowest, are city inspectors are pretty good in terms of scheduling them, that I found in Kelowna, in terms of the timeline, but the impact of a city inspector can cause a couple of days delay on a project. But engineers, consultants like that, are the slowest by far. If you need an energy model or something these days, you're waiting months, which is why we decided to become energy advisors internally, because I don't want to wait for somebody else's slow throughput time in their business. Again, trying to control the different elements of the schedule that are most vulnerable, so that we can stay in front of things. And oftentimes I'll pick up my supplies early. If I know I'm scheduled for October 1st, I'll try to pick up my supplies a week early, have them delivered to site, get everything in place, mise en place. If you're, my uncle's a chef and he was training me in that way, get everything out and ready that you're going to need, get your things in place. So that they're there, so that when work starts, we have what we need. And that often takes a little forethought, a little bit of planning. Alternatively, like we did on the project I was describing with the rotten wall, and there was going to be some tension potentially around the building inspection, we scheduled a buffer so that it wasn't downtime. It was intentionally, we'll show up on Monday, we'll get things ready. Tuesday's the inspection. I'm not planning work on Wednesday. We'll start on Thursday, because I wanted some room that might be a conversation between me and the client, and maybe calling an engineer and what do we need to do, and figuring out in the logistics, and I might need to go get some supplies. And I don't want my crew sitting there twiddling their thumbs, first of all, because that's expensive, but more than that, they feel bored. They come to work to be productive. Nobody's satisfied to waste the company time. If you have a good culture and people that are engaged, people want to go. They want us to succeed together. So scheduling the buffer, knowing that there's going to be time is a great way to not be surprised. We don't need to be surprised if we use our experience to forecast these things. Another thing that we did internally, and if you have a good cadence, you can schedule a down day protocol. And what we did is we just looked internally about all the incidental things that need to be maintained. And if you have equipment, trucks, trailers, or heavy equipment, you don't want a breakdown. A breakdown is the worst because you're counting on that piece of equipment and it's died on you. And every piece of equipment is there to empower progress for the day. If it breaks down, you don't just have to pay for the equipment, whether it's a jackhammer that petered out because it's old or a bobcat that blew a hydraulic hose. It's not just the cost of the repair, which can be really expensive. It's the cost of the downtime, which is way more expensive. It's having 4 crews stand there looking at the piece of equipment going, I don't know what to do. Then it's to call the technician and they got to take it away and they're off fixing it for 4 days and then they're back, and it's 5 days of no working is worth thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, which is just something I try to avoid at all costs. Do accidents happen? Yes. But I realize that if we always have time between projects, especially if we're early. You know, it's like, hey, we plan to be finished on Thursday, but we finish on Wednesday. We got a day before we start a project. I wanted to have an answer to what do we do in that middle day? Well, we take care of our stuff. It's part of a Kaizen process in lean development, is just taking care of your team, taking care of your equipment, learning how to do things better internally, work on the process so that you can work on the project. So we decided to make sure that at least quarterly all the trucks are inspected. You know, we're talking tires off, brakes, oil, coolant, all the things that could just be wear and tear maintenance items. The trailer gets its stuff greased, all the batteries in the trailer are charged, all the equipment's processed. If there's a piece of equipment that we use that's heavy use, like a concrete cutoff saw or jackhammer, those are serviced. They get the carbs cleaned or the filters checked, so that when guys are out there using it, they're not wondering whether it's going to survive. And further to that, if I have a project that's vulnerable because it's bottlenecked on one piece of equipment, let's say a jackhammer. I only need one jackhammer on this project. But if the jackhammer dies, the project stops, and then we have to go get a jackhammer. And I bring 2 jackhammers. I just won't tolerate the passion. Like, I won't tolerate the bottleneck of one jackhammer dying, especially if you know it's a heavy wear item. It's like prone to overheat. It's prone to break down, whatever the deal is. I got a backup. So if that dies, next one's in, which is why I never use my drills to their maximum. When they start to show fatigue, and they do, your battery packs, whatever, I go buy another set. I can still use the fatigued ones, or I can just use the new ones and the fatigued ones become the backup. And then eventually what ends up, I give those away. Give the ones that have like 30% of their life left, not used up and worthless, but used up in a way that I don't want to go to a job site with the one drill I'm counting on and it peter out on me. I go give them away. Like, Habitat for Humanity is a great place to give your tools. Somebody who's just a weekender, doesn't depend on it. If the battery is short cycling, they can charge it twice in a day without a problem. I don't want to have to do that because I want to go to work. I don't want to wait. Again, just philosophies, thinking. This is just a flow. If there's an important piece of equipment that you need, that your whole crew is depending upon, have a backup on site or have a backup queued. Going back to those 5 project management questions, what are we trying to do? How do we know it succeeded? Okay, what's going to get in our way? The jackhammer is dying. What would we do about what's going to get in our way? Oh, we should have a second jackhammer in the trailer. Got it. What happens if it's a long way to power or electric? I have extra garden hoses for water. I have extra extension cords for electricity. What if we have to run 2 power because we keep blowing the breaker, which is a common one for us, especially in new construction. Anyways, I have tons more extension cord than I would realistically need for those off chances that I need power from different breakers in the house. Because I've had it before where I didn't do that. I showed up and I couldn't power both my equipment pieces, or we're alternating cables so that I can charge my batteries and the saw or the jackhammer. It was just shenanigans. Learned to avoid that. Just so why? Because we prioritize progress. That's what we get paid for. But here's the clincher. The number one downtime is in decisions and communication. That is where most of us don't even realize we're wasting all of our time. And this is the golden nugget. if you have low quality communication that's late, or just in the moment, like present real-time communication or late, it's the most expensive form of communication, period. I drew this. I made this up. This was an internal training because I want to always reinforce to my team, talk about things before they need. Hey, look, the saw, we haven't serviced it in 3 weeks. Maybe we should service it, is way later than, hey, the saw is acting up. I don't know. What should I be doing about it? Or, oh yeah, we got to work and the saw totally died on the last job. We didn't do anything about it, but we need it tomorrow. Like, it's too late. I can't get it fixed this afternoon for tomorrow. So how you communicate with your clients is going to set the tone for the decision-making process that you have as a contractor. Again, as bad as it is in construction, I think it compounds and way worse in a digital space because people take for granted that communication is always at their fingertips, that they don't prioritize effective communication and then the decision-making. And decision-making can look like the ball going back and forth between 3 or 4 emails and 2 phone calls before an actual decision gets made so that you can keep going on the work. If you're doing web design or the copy or the graphics, back and forth. It's like, we just need to land the plane and get the thing published, but we are back and forth. And you just gotta get that in. You gotta get that sorted out. Say again, language. I'm not gonna say get that under control, because the goal isn't to control everything and everyone. It's to have responsibility and agency in these realms that you can craft outcomes. So if you need a decision on colors, if you need a decision on typography, those should be conversations that you have way before needing them. Because when it comes time to what color paint do I need for the wall, if you're a painter, you don't want to be needing to paint the wall. You want to be in the drywall phase where the tape and mudding's happening and paint's next week, so you're like, hey, so I can get it and order it, and the paint supplier takes some time because they got some staffing issues or whatever the deal is. You can be ready to go when you need to go, but you need to communicate your expectations for decisions well up front, because you know what you need. You've already priced out your whole project. You know what materials, labor, and equipment you need. You know what parts you need your client's approval for. You know when you need the engineer to come review. I mean, if you know you need an engineer over here, you should be talking to the engineer well before you need them, so that I have a project coming up and it's 3 weeks away. Can you just put me in the schedule? So you're not calling them with urgency. You're giving them lots of notice. In 3 weeks, I'm going to need you for the project. I'll communicate closer to the date, the time, and whatever. But you've told them you're coming, so that when you're 5 days out, you're like, hey, listen, next Thursday, I need you. And then sort out whether or not it's in the morning or afternoon. But you're keeping the ball rolling because it's yours to do. You're not, well, the engineer couldn't get to me for 2 weeks. Now we're just waiting. I'm like, that's just so bogus if you can avoid it. And if it does happen, stuff does get delayed, the car does break down, the whatever, at least then you can go, I have a down day protocol. These are the things that we reorganize the shop, we clean the tools out, we go through our photo library and we sort it out into projects. We reach out to our clients, see if there's any service calls. We organize our database. We review our cybersecurity checklist that Google or Microsoft sends you. Whatever you got to do. That's like your down day protocol. So you've already preloaded, and you already have an answer to the "what do we do now?" question. You can't just go to work and follow your plan. What do we do now? That's what you're going to be asking. That's what your client's going to be asking. That's what your team's going to be asking. So have an answer. You don't have to fumble into it. You can be ready for it. So, hey, it looks like it's torrential rain tomorrow. Projects are off, but guess what? Let's go for a company lunch because we worked our butts off. We'll spend the morning reorganizing the shop. We'll spend the afternoon getting ready for the project the following week. I'm going to bring you in. We're going to do a training exercise on communication, get everybody on the same page, and refresh that for everybody, and we'll see about what this next project is going to hold and get your insight. How does that sound? Oh, awesome, cool, great, perfect. At least you're moving forward, even if it's on a parallel path when time stops. This is an entirely random one. I put it down here because, as we have these conversations, and we're several conversations in, some things just percolate in my mind and I remember them. So we were talking way back about the different reasons, the values alignment with your clients. And I talked about how I've reorganized morale. You know, there's productivity, quality, cost, delivery time, safety, and morale. And this is a lean framework for assigning value. I have gone so far as to say, and trust, that's what customers will pay for, is trust. And the morale piece, I talked about EI, ESGs, and quality of life. And if you're a landscaper, and this is the example that I thought of as a good morale, like it doesn't fit into productivity or delivery time, but if you're a landscaper and you market your landscaping services as all electric, you're orienting your services in that case to cater to somebody that really cares about the environment or really cares about the quiet landscaper with the all electric tool, so it's not, you know, like the weed whacker and the two-stroke blowers and all that stuff. So being creative on the things that matter to you, again, thinking to our last conversation, which is about consciousness, you can really draw in a very aligned client with aligned messaging on the quality of life sphere, particularly on the elements of environmentalism and consciousness. There's clients out there that really care about the things that you care about. So putting that forward and just seeing that the value of the decisions you might make naturally, like we have mostly electric tools, okay, great. Oh yeah, people might actually care about the environmental impact of that and the acoustics of us working on their house if they got children sleeping, you know? Okay, so I'll leave it there. Thanks for sticking with me on this. Downtime, eliminate it would be my expectation, or at least have a backup plan. Have a great rest of the day. It's been nice chatting.